Hi guys, welcome to Monitoring and Evaluation Made Simple. I'm your host, Coach Alexander. I'm so glad you've joined me today. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to this channel because on a regular basis I post updates on M&E. And I have a special announcement to make starting this month in January. You're going to be receiving daily content in relation to monitoring and evaluation. So I hope you don't get bored. You don't need to watch all the videos, but I'm pretty sure you're going to get the relevant content to your needs. Okay, so without wasting any more time, what are the 5 key M&E plan components? Okay, so one thing I need to tell you that M&E plans can be contextualized depending on the organization, depending on the project or program. But let me tell you that whatever the case, you shouldn't miss out on these 5 key important components. So before I go any further, as usual, my name is Coach Alexander. I've been in this business for 10 years. I don't see myself leaving monitoring and evaluation because it is in my blood. You can ask me any question, I'll be able to answer it if it's in relation to M&E. But as usual, we've already commenced the 6 months one-on-one coaching program. Some people have written to me to find out whether it's too late to enroll. I have to say it is not too late. Simply write to me and I will find a way to squeeze you into this program. So please just write to me if you want to still enroll. As usual, these are the free ebooks we have in the description below. And we have how to set up a monitoring and evaluation system step-by-step course. Okay, so please find time to enroll in this course. This is a cheaper version. It's about $12 or it could even be lower, depending on how Udemy actually feels that specific thing. So as usual, this is a long video, but I'll try to keep it short. So please take full advantage of the timestamps because I want you to derive the maximum best experience as you watch this video. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. So now, before I go any further, what is a monitoring and evaluation plan? So now, guys, I want to tell you one thing, that an M&E plan is special, okay? But we shouldn't confuse it with an M&E system and M&E framework because all these 3 things are totally different. I'm going to talk about this in the days to come so that people get it clearly and understand it fully. So now an M&E plan is simply that which is a document, okay? It's a document that details what you intend to do in terms of monitoring and evaluation, how you're going to achieve your intentions, and what resources will you require to achieve that which you intend to do, okay? And I strongly believe that in order to have a fully functional M&E system, a lot of times we don't want to talk about this important component, which is the resources. And when we talk of resources, we're simply talking about the personnel, we're talking about the budgets, and we're also talking about the time. Okay, so now here are the 5 important components of an M&E plan you should never miss out on. So the first one is that you should have an M&E framework. Some M&E plans will incorporate the logical framework, which is okay, but to tell you the truth, it doesn't really answer much to if you have the logical framework there, it won't give the answers to the critical questions which we M&E professionals tend to ask. How are we going to collect this data? Who is going to collect it? How often should we report on it? So the framework answers those questions. So the M&E plan should actually have a framework. So I talked about the M&E, an example of an M&E framework on how to develop one. So I'm sure for those of you who watched the video I released yesterday, this is the actual framework, an example of a framework which can use to actually guide you as you do monitoring and evaluation activities in your organization. So now the second thing, guys, is the roles and responsibilities. So now when you're doing monitoring and evaluation, you have to understand that You cannot do this activity, this intervention on autopilot. You just can't. You need to be strategic. You need to be clear cut on what you want to do and who is going to do it. So you have to assign responsibilities. I personally don't believe that you need to have everybody who's an expert in M&E, but I strongly believe that when you look at, for instance, I've given an example of an M&D organogram. You have the program manager, M&D officer, enumerators, team leader, field staff. Okay, all of these components actually feed into the M&D system. So what is critical is if the sorry about that. Sorry. Yes. What is critical in my view is if you have the program manager there, he should have strong technical oversight when it comes to M&E. He should actually be skilled in monitoring and evaluation so that he can be offering support to the lower level functions. I'm sorry about that. I think the laptop is very sensitive today. Okay, so I guess you get the idea. So the next thing is that it's really important. An important component is to list all your indicators. So the monitoring and evaluation plan should list all the indicators that your intervention will be monitoring. So we're not just talking about impact indicators or outcome indicators, but also try to monitor the output and process indicators, because all you're trying to do, you're trying to keep track. And after keeping track, you want to make sure that at the end of the day, you're able to get meaningful information. And this information will trigger learning and corrective action in your organization. So, one important aspect when it comes to listing indicators, for those of you who've enrolled in the coaching program, I've talked about this a lot. The issue of using indicator reference sheets. So the indicator reference sheets are simply the documents that specifically inform you what the indicator is all about. Because you know an indicator can have different meaning to different people. So in order to standardize, you need to use these indicator reference sheets. So if you have 16 indicators, each of those indicators should be well defined by an indicator reference sheet. And when you do that, I'm telling you, you're going to improve the quality of data that you're collecting, that you're analyzing and reporting on. So you have to have this in your M&D plan. Another very important aspect of an M&D plan is the budget. And guys, this cannot be overly emphasized. I know some of you people want to run away from this, but it's a sad reality which you always face in life. Whatever you do, you need money to do certain things. And you shouldn't be, some people tend to want to get cheap things, okay, and yet get high quality, but that's not how it is always. When it comes to monitoring and evaluation, if you want the system to be sustained, you need to pump in the required resources. So whether it's expensive, whether it's affordable, it is just something you need to do. So in the budget, you need to list the activities. Of course, there are some activities which you can cut down on, but for those activities which are crucial, you have to list them down and you have to take care of the travel expenses, of the equipment. So if you're going to travel to do a field visitation, and you need a certain number of days to collect the data, you just have to put it in your budget because that is what is on the ground. If you are there for less days, quality becomes compromised. And who is to blame for that? It's the planners. So you have to be very clear. Salaries for the M&D personnel. So if the budget is going to cater for salaries for M&D personnel, then it should be clear how much these people will be getting. Okay. I don't want to talk a lot about the salaries, but there's something I have to tell you guys. we need to invest in our human resource. I've seen some of the projects are in different parts of the world. They are just interested in activities, okay? But they don't put so much effort in taking care of the human resource that are actually running those activities. We have to be realistic on this one, guys. If you're not putting in investment in the human personnel, they won't perform to your expectation and you actually be blowing your budget. So this is something you need to critically look at. The human resource is the most important resource in any organization. So it should be clearly listed. When it comes to salaries, make sure that it is aligned to the situation prevalent in a location, and also the cost of living should be factored into the salaries, because there's no point in giving a salary to someone when he's always running on a deficit because the cost of living is higher than his salary. So I mean, guys, let's be serious on this one. Then if you're going to hire consultants, you need to attach expert fees for those consultants. Finally, the fifth component is the activity plan. Okay, so I try to give a template that gives you the activity plan. Okay, so when we say activity plan, you need to lay out the M&D activities you'll be doing throughout the year. If if planning for the whole year is too far-fetched, you can actually consider doing a quarterly plan, so that when this quarterly plan is done, you can constantly be gauging yourselves as to how you're able to meet the targets in the quarter, and when the quarter is about to end, you plan for the next quarter. Okay, so that can also work. So be clear about what is realistic for you and your team, all right? So that you are able to achieve your targets. Okay, so thank you very much. I thank you so much for finding the time to be on this channel. Please do well to subscribe if you haven't done so, and write to me in case you have any questions. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side. Bye.